So welcome everyone. Here we go. Another episode of Energetic Alignment and Mindset with Zach and Monique, my fiance, a lovely lady. So I've been a real estate investor and capital raiser now for 10 years, doing fun stuff in real estate, always loving to talk real estate investing with everyone. And you, honey?
I am an energy healer. I teach intuitive development and a spiritual mentor, and I help people learn about themselves and how to use their energy and the energy around them to create realities that they really enjoy and want to live, not something that they feel like they have to live.
All right. So we're probably going to go a little bit fast today, packing a lot of stuff in. So don't worry, you can play it back, have some fun with all of that in the replay. And we're going to have some fun with all of this today.
Yep, we are.
Yep. All right. So, just a little overview, of course. Again, energy is everywhere. Tons of fun stuff. Learn to accept that it's everywhere. Have fun with it. Understand yourself. Mindset is what we get to use to harness that energy and have a fun time in our life. So we're really excited. Remember, our mantra with everything is always energy before action. Man, you can't come from a clouded space to get the results you want in life. If you're feeling clouded, you should probably step back and do something about that first.
Change your energy first.
Change your energy, and you can change the world, everyone. It's true. It's true. So again, just to reiterate, people want to work with us beyond this class. That's totally cool. Many of you have. You can work with us one-on-one. I do real estate stuff, of course, and she does a whole litany of things. Energy healing, intuition, lovely stuff. And I'm always looking for other private lenders. I'm going to do a webinar about private lenders soon. I don't know. Not a lot of people like to talk about private lending and money, but I do. So we'll talk about that another time.
Money and sex are very shameful to talk about in our culture.
That's a real good one. Yeah. Money, sex. What else we don't talk about? Politics. A lot of these things, you just don't want to talk about those. Were you taught that growing up? I know I was. And so break through that because we don't have to do that anymore. But all right, so that out of the way, here we are on another week of Energetic Alignment and Mindset, and we are going to be talking about manifesting today. Ooh la la. What does that mean? That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so today we're going to go into an introduction of manifestation because it is something that can be broken down to a ton of different steps. So my intention and Zach's intention as well is for you to be able to build as like the next 4-ish weeks go by. Each week, though, you'll be able to start practicing like conscious co-creation, which is intentional manifesting. And so by the end of this like mini series that we created, you will have an idea of, okay, this is why I've been attracting this type of thing into my life. And this is why I haven't quite gotten what I wanted out of this. And I keep going through this pattern, or I keep going through this cycle, or I can't break out of this. And so by the end of this mini series, you'll be able to have clarity around that, and you'll be able to then align with what you actually want so that you can bring it into your life and you can be someone that can create it in your life, either quickly or in divine timing, whenever it's supposed to happen. Because I truly, truly, truly believe, and I feel like from working just with spirit over the last 6 years and being a channel for so many people's like angels and guides and just the divine energy in general, if it is a desire on your heart, it is meant for you to have. However, the caveat to that is we have to become the person that has that desire. And that's where a lot of us get caught up. So throughout this series, I really want to break that down of how you can become that person without feeling like you're actually becoming a different person, because it's just going to feel natural to you. It's going to be a side effect. Thus, creating your ideal reality gets to be a side effect.
That's a pretty cool side effect. Better than some of the other negative ones.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, as always, use the chat box, or if you have any questions at the end of this, then we will be more than happy to answer anything. So first, we'll just go ahead and get started. And like I said, like today is just going to be an overview. We'll introduce some stuff. We'll talk about some stuff. But if you have questions, you want us to go deeper, chances are we're going to in later weeks, but still please pop them in. So I wanted to talk first about what manifestation is not. So have you ever heard of manifesting before we started dating?
I don't think I have. No, I'm trying to think about it. I don't think I have. Maybe tangentially here and there, but never formally introduced to it or what that concept even was. Yeah. No.
So when manifestation is typically talked about, it's talked about as like some magical woo, like BS type statement that's very airy fairy. It's like, well, this happens randomly to some people, but you have to be like blessed for it to happen to you. And it's not something that is just always a part of the natural order of things. And people think of manifestation as something that happens by coincidence, or it happens by chance, or it definitely is the devil's work. Like if you are religious, you should not be participating in manifestation. And all of that is total bullshit. All of that is completely false. And today you'll have an idea as to why that's completely false. But first, manifestation is not magic, although it feels like it. It is not some woo-woo, airy fairy type concept that only happens to some people who are lucky enough to experience it. It is not the devil's work. It is not evil. It is not dangerous. And it is not coincidental. Okay. It's just a lot of us have never understood what manifestation actually is, so that we don't understand that it's just a natural law, that an order that is always happening, like gravity. Gravity is happening before we learn about it. But when we learn about it, we give it a name. Doesn't mean that it didn't work for us until we learned about it in like third grade. Manifestation is always happening, even before you learn about it. It's just happening at an unconscious level. So today we want to change that. So what is manifestation? It is a term, like square definition. It is a term that represents an event, act, or object that shows the physical expression of a theory or idea. So in other words, it's a physical representation of a thought or an idea. That's what it is if you look it up in the dictionary. Okay. That's just like the very black and white blatant term for manifestation. I like to refer to manifestation as a conscious co-creation. It's always happening, but the manifestation that we think about, the manifestation that we want to happen, it is something that is more so like a compilation of healing our past traumas and declaring our value and increasing our self-awareness and emotional intelligence and setting stronger boundaries with what we want and what we will not tolerate and accept in our life, and deciding and acting as if I am amazing and worthy of what I want.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, who the heck doesn't want all of that coming from clarity and just attracting what you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that comes to mind that maybe it wasn't called manifesting, but the book, The Secret.
Yeah.
I mean, reading that,
So
just
The
the
Secret
law of
talks,
attraction.
Yeah, a lot about the law of attraction, which is one of the universal laws. And it is something that a lot of people discuss when they talk about manifestation. However, it's not the only law that plays a part in manifestation, but it's a very popular one. And The Secret kind of gave it a very like a sugar-coated overview. And it's a really great book to hype you up, but it can get like the actual science behind manifestation can get lost in the book, The Secret, but I still love it. And I love reading it. And I always feel really good when I read it.
It's like dipping your toes into manifesting. Just, I mean, we all have to get introduced to things at some point.
Yeah.
So sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
But
powerful.
manifestation is something that's really powerful because it's something that we play an active role in. And so when we heal our past traumas, when we know who we are and what we want, when we're connected to our authentic expression, when we understand that we are innately worthy of whatever we want, even if or when we don't feel worthy, then we understand that, hey, I'm worthy. I can set some boundaries here of what I can accept into my life and what I won't accept into my life.
Mm.
And then we start to act as if I'm the person that feels the way that a multimillionaire feels, or feels the way that someone who's madly in love feels, or feels the way of someone who has financial freedom or time freedom feels, or feels the way that someone who feels at peace and has a loving relationship with their body feels. Then we actually step into the process of that conscious co-creation versus the unconscious co-creation. All right, so let me know if that makes sense in the chat box for you guys, or if you have any questions about that. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Because next we're going to talk about briefly how it works, how this process is already happening, and how you can influence this process. Because before you even knew about manifestation, you were already doing it.
Yeah.
Because you, like the stuff that we're talking about, you already just innately kind of embodied.
I mean, I was just always on a search to attract whatever I wanted into this world, and coming from nothing. As I started to get more things, I realized that I can get anything that I put my mind to. I mean, as an 8-year-old, I started my own business with a tax number and a DBA just because my parents didn't have money to get me a Nintendo, and I wanted a Nintendo. So I'm like, all right, how many ways can I get money for a Nintendo? And then I just put that energy towards that. I mean, and sure enough, you know, a Nintendo happened, but I mean, that was just a small little thing working towards it. Yes, but it's all that energy that I was holding in life to attract that thing towards me at the end of the day, and just more and more things all the time. And as I get older and I started to use it more, I wouldn't focus on the thing as much. And yet I knew that I wanted it, and I would pave the way for those things to happen. And I would start living in that moment of the future, having the successful real estate business, you know, people around me that supported me and things like that. And then they would just show up. The right people, the right deals, the right everything that I wanted, they would just show up. I mean, I was in the right frame to see it, but then it would show up, and I knew that I had to act at that point because the world was giving me exactly what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So boom, got to do something about that at the end of the day, right?
Okay, so I want to talk about how manifestation works. So this process is simple, yet within each step, there are little side steps, I suppose, which we're going to go into in the following weeks. So briefly, something in your reality creates a desire for something else. So you want something, you have a desire for something. That's step one. You ask for this thing that you want, because either you don't have it in your life right now and you're recognizing that the lack of having it makes you want to have it, or it's something that you know will benefit you in the long run, or it's just something that you've always desired of having on your heart. So you want something. So then once you're like, okay, this is what I want, universe, God, whatever you believe in, this is what I want. Side note, I want to talk about this before I go any further. Manifestation it does not matter what your religious beliefs are. Manifestation is always a part of life. It's always working with us. Again, just like gravity, doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. Gravity is working. Gravity is a law of the universe. It is working. This is the same thing with manifestation. So you can believe in whatever you want to believe, but you have to know that you are energetic. Again, I know I've said this before and I'll say it 100 times again. You are energetic. You're electromagnetic. Your thoughts send out those text messages to the universe. Your emotions, the overall feelings that you're embodying, they pull in the experience. Our heart has a magnetic field 100 times greater than the brain. So this is why our emotions are so important, and what we're pulling into our life, what we're calling in, what type of experiences we're finding ourselves in, because how we feel, we are just going to continue to find ourselves in situations that feel very similarly. And so this is how, when you think something and then you bring in the emotion around the thought of having that, embodying that emotion is literally a shortcut to manifesting. We'll talk about that later.
So to sum that up also, so it doesn't matter when someone believes in one religion or another religion or just the power of the universe. it doesn't matter for energy work.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter because bottom line, you are energetic. You are composed of atoms. You're vibrating at a frequency. That frequency is connecting to like frequencies, and you're pulling in similar experiences via the vibrational frequency that you are embodying at any given time. So again, I know we talked about this last week, but if you're in a lower emotional state, that doesn't mean that you're going to manifest bad things. Because when we can accept our emotions and accept that we're feeling low and understand that, hey, I need a rest day, I'm not really going to take any action today, that is actually a positive thing because you're accepting the experience that your body is having. Okay. So that was just a side note. But one other thing that I wanted to say is, so we are electromagnetic and we're always pulling this in. That's more of the energetic side of things. More scientific explanation is when we focus on something that we want, the reticular activating system in our brain starts to make us notice those things. The more we notice something, the more we become familiar with it. The more we become familiar with it, the more we begin to identify as someone who could possibly experience that thing in their life. So as we become familiar with things and we start to identify with those things, it feels less intimidating for us to then declare and move into the identity of, I am someone that has a large sum of money in their bank account. I am someone that invests my money regularly in real estate. I am someone who's in a loving, committed relationship. I am someone who has a healthy body and an awesome relationship with myself. So it allows us to move into that space because our reticular activating system starts to show us things that we say, I want this. I want more of this. But what can happen is we can start to compare ourselves with those who are showing up in our life with it. That's another story for a different video that we'll talk about later down the road. But we can compare ourselves with these people, and then we cut off our access to the manifestation. So we cut ourselves off. How many of us have said, I want this, but then we see other people with it and we're like, screw that person. They don't deserve that. How did they get that? I want this. Well, this must mean that I'm not good enough. They're doing something right and I'm doing something wrong. We've all probably said those things to ourselves. We've all probably experienced those thoughts. But when we start to compare or when we feel jealous, then we are cutting ourselves off from our manifestation. Because the universe will bring things into your life via the path of least resistance. And if that is scrolling on social media and seeing other people who have this thing that you just declared that you wanted, then that's what it is. That's a sign that you are saying, I want something. And then step 2, you shift your internal state to match what it is that you want. That's a sign that your internal state is beginning to shift. That you've made a decision. You said, I want that. I declare that I want this. I decide that I want this. You made that decision. So step 1's complete. The second step is now you begin to do things to shift your internal state to get it. And that might be looking on social media and it starts popping up in your feed. Or that might be going down the road and you see, maybe you want a relationship and you see like couples holding hands walking everywhere. That's a good sign. Can you see it as one? Or will you compare yourself? Or will you say, I must not be good enough because I don't have that in my life yet, even though I just declared that I wanted it 2 weeks ago, right?
It's important. Yeah. So that first step is when you're looking to buy a car and now all of a sudden you see that same car all over the place, that same type of particular activation. Same thing with relationships, same thing with, oh man, real estate. Oh, these guys are getting all those deals. How come I'm not getting deals? Well, you just started to get into that mindset, surround yourself with more people that are doing those things, and that'll just help that energy continue along, and try not to compare from a space of self negativity. Because you always have to stay positive, just like pretend that you're a child, right? We talk about our inner child healing almost all the time, but we're all children. So just nurture that child in you. And it's okay. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to not be perfect, not right when you're starting out or that you want something. But just start to notice those things in yourself and around you. And then just, you can compare in a sense that see which people you might resonate more with,
Mhm.
because there's definitely different real estate investors, definitely different people in this world that I resonate more with versus resonating less with. There's people that I definitely don't want to mimic and mock and model them, because I'm like, man, that guy's just a jerk. Yeah, he's got that thing that I want, but he's a jerk. Do I have to be a jerk in order to get that thing?
Mhm.
You know?
And that can also, and Danielle saying that she can relate being hard on myself, though I know I'm still early in the real estate journey. Yeah, absolutely. And that's just something that we're really good at. We're really good at being hard on ourselves. We're really good at being critical with ourselves. And Gabby, we're happy that you are here. And we're really good at being hard on ourselves. And so by what Zach just said is that's something that can, I like to use this term because I think it's just a universal understanding. That's something that can cock block our ability to have what we want. And that is seeing someone else that has it and saying, oh, well, they are a shitty person. So if they have it, then that must mean that they did something like manipulative to get that. And so we separate ourselves from our desires. So remember, step one is deciding that you want something. Step one is deciding that you want it. So then if we get to step two, and that is you're beginning to shift your internal state to match that desire, you're beginning to say, okay, this is what I want. Now I'm going to start feeling the way, like, so what do I mean when I say shift the internal state? I mean, we decide we want something. So then we say, okay, how am I going to feel when I have that? And we start feeling those feelings more and more each day. And so, but when we do that, when we start feeling the love, the joy, the happiness, the elation, and then we see someone that has it and we're like, oh, they have this? Well, what they do to get this? I know they're manipulative, so they must have manipulated somebody or someone's to get that. And then what are we doing? We are separating ourselves from that which we want. So we are doing the complete opposite of what we want to do to get into the energetic equivalent of that desire. Because when we are comparing, when we are jealous, when we are saying they're a bad person, they did bad things to get that, we innately don't want to be bad people. So we are subconsciously going to say, if bad people have this, I don't want it because I don't want to be a bad person. So what do we have to do? To shift our internal state more, we have to, one, understand how, actually, let's just play this by example. You guys can type in some manifestations that you want in the chat box. So just type in something like, what do you want in your life? What's something that you desire? I know for me, I'm trying to stabilize a certain income goal every month in my business. I flirted with it and I just haven't stabilized it yet. What are you? And I'm manifesting a healthy pregnancy and baby.
Yeah.
What are you?
For me, I want to manifest different homes for us throughout the year in Sedona, in Florida, because right now here in Ohio, you guys can't see it or feel it, but it's 16 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's really cold. Yeah.
So this is the time of year we got to go someplace warm. So for me, I mean, that's top of mind. That could happen anytime, I guess. But man, I would love to do that more than money or anything. Experience is important to me.
Yeah. So Angel, you want consistency in closing an X amount of deals each month, and you want to be your best self. Awesome. So, honey, Angel, anybody else who wants to participate in this, how is it going to feel when you're on the other side of that? For me, I know I'm going to feel very freaking excited. I'm going to feel so grateful. I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to feel just like so joyous and happy.
I'm going to be at peace. I'm going to feel very proud. I'm going to feel respect for myself. I'm going to be so happy that this thing that I want, that, you know, a lot of people might want for their whole life, to have a vacation home, that for me to get that in a way that it all pays for itself, so that anyone that even had no money could do the same thing. I mean, break down barriers. And so for me, that's awesome, because that's an awesome teaching moment. And that's in alignment with myself, of just getting over your own fears of no money, no credit. I can't get into real estate. Well, that's not true, right?
So how does that feel?
It feels amazing. It feels happy. Empowering.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And helping people to show that. And it's in integrity. It's in alignment.
Mhm. So you feel in integrity, empowered, happy, peaceful,
Proud. Like I'm
Okay.
also providing.
Yeah.
So
like living up to potential.
yeah.
So from there, that's how we shift our internal state. We focus on, I recommend people, they grab 3 to 5 emotions from their vision of their desire, grab 3 to 5 emotions. And then what are some things that you can do today to focus on those feelings? So how can you feel empowered today? How can you feel proud today? I know you always feel very proud of yourself after you finish an awesome run.
Yeah.
And you feel empowered while you're running.
Yeah.
And you feel at peace after you run. You
Yeah,
really like running.
That's probably why I like running. It
Yeah.
gets me all those things. It's not,
Yeah.
didn't start that way, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And so for me, I feel very confident while I'm working out, and I feel very joyous, like when in the mornings when Zach makes me coffee, or like when I hug him, and I call it like a love wave, and I have like this love wave that runs through me. And so I let myself experience that, and I like jump up and down like a little kid and whatever. It can be embarrassing as I explain it, but it's not embarrassing at all because it's something that I do. So I own it.
No, not
And
embarrassing at all.
we love
That's
it.
cute.
And so
That's cute.
So it's something like that. So my point is that we can now understand, okay, these are the emotions that I need to bring into my body to shift my internal state. So these are some things I can do today that help me get into that emotional state. Okay. So that is what we want to focus on the emotional state. So going back to when we're judging and comparing ourselves, or we're judging other people, or we're saying they're a bad person, they have that, so I don't know if I want it anymore. Are we connected to those emotions? No. Instead, we're bringing ourselves to a lower emotional state, because in comparison, we're telling ourselves, I'm not good enough. I'm not there yet. I'm doing something wrong. They're doing something right. No, we're just on different journeys. We're all at different markers in our journey. And no one is right and no one is wrong, and no one knows where each other's journey is going. We can only focus on our journey, our path. But when we're focused on other people's path, we are not focused on where we're going. So then what happens if you're trying to walk and I know what happens when you're trying to walk and you're not looking forward. You run into poles, because this is what happened to me right here. I have a scar, if you can see it. I ran into a pole because I was walking and I'm like looking this way because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I was paying attention to something else outside of me, and I ran into a pole and I cut my eye, and I still have a lump on my forehead from it. And it happened 3 months ago. And like, so stuff like that happens when you're not focusing on you, when you're not focusing on your lane. And something else that can happen is we can get really hard on ourselves and think, why is this not happening to me yet? So that's one perspective. Or we can say, okay, this hasn't happened yet, which means it's closer than it was the day before. It's closer than it was the day before because it hasn't happened. How much better does that feel to say to yourself, this hasn't happened yet, so that means it's one day closer, versus this hasn't happened yet, I must be doing something wrong.
And you get to feel those wonderful emotions
Yes.
that you're trying to feel in that future moment.
Yes.
You've identified things that make you feel those emotions right now so that you can start to feel them and be like, wow, all right, I'm already in alignment with those emotions. And so every day we've talked about the journey is so important, and to love the journey and to make the journey part of what you love in it. You know, it's just why hate the journey? Why only love the destination? Because you're going to go towards something else in the future, and then you're going to not enjoy that journey.
Yes.
So love the journey. But yeah, a day closer. I love that.
Yeah.
And just thinking of those emotions and focusing on those activities that make you feel
Yes.
those emotions right
Because
now.
It comes down to literally how we're feeling about things. And then it comes down to our self-belief, which we'll talk about in a later step. Because the next step is, once we begin shifting our internal state and we're feeling really good and we're feeling empowered and we're just enjoying the present moment and we're enjoying the day, we're enjoying the journey, then we take action that aligns with that vibrational state, Remember, we've talked about before, when you're feeling down, you want to take different action than when you're feeling really energized and happy.
Mhm.
And action that is in alignment with you in your best and highest state may be different than somebody else. This is why, Angel, you're saying you've heard all of these things that you have to do in business in order to be successful, and some of them just don't work for you. Then don't do them. This is your permission slip. We're all unique individuals. Some things work really, really well for this cohort of people. Some things work really, really well for this cohort of people. And some cohorts of people, none of those things work. It doesn't mean you're doing anything bad. It just means you get to do something different. And does it feel in alignment with your best and highest state, vibrational state, meaning when you feel empowered, when you feel joy, when you feel grounded, calm, confident, peaceful? What action do you know you need to take from that space in order to have your desired outcome? Sometimes that action won't be something that you're excited to do, but you know that it needs to be done in order to have what you want. And sometimes people will tell you, you have to do this. You have to do this. And you're like, I don't know. Like, I literally can't bring myself to do it. Then don't. Because if you're going to like freak out about this action step and say, and it just feels like, I know for some people who are introverts, cold calling is the worst thing on the planet.
Yeah.
They would rather die than cold call. Then don't cold call.
There's ways
There are other
around that.
ways.
Like-
And that's why Zach is so wonderful. He's an expander, so he can help people see those ways.
What I hate when I see online is someone will ask, how to get into real estate, how to start something out. And then so many different people will be very quick to say, oh, this is the best way to do it. This is the best way. No, this is the best way. It's like, shut up, guys. Your best way might not be the best way for this person. The better thing is to just step back and ask that person. So consulting with that person, and you got to find some things out about them. Are you an introvert or extrovert, for one? Do you know, have you tried some things? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? And where are your strengths and weaknesses? We hear about that in like a Myers-Briggs type of personality test, 16 different personalities. But there's so many different tests just to understand that. That's why I put together at one point over 100 different ways of finding properties. One of those is on the MLS, but over 100 ways. And you can imagine that there's some better ways for some people than other people to find properties. And so it's, be careful when someone just says that you have to do this to be successful in business or to be successful in life. So just make sure that you're putting it through that filter, that internal filter of yours, to say that this is what I want. This is how I want to show up. These are the facets of my character that are important to me. Because like I was saying before, there's these different people in business. Some of them are much more ruthless. Some of them don't mind doing certain things, but you'll find people that enjoy doing things the way that you enjoy doing them. And so just have that faith that you can attract those people into your life. And by noticing the people that do things differently than you want to do them, that's also wonderful, because you can push them away and say, that is not what I want in my life. It's very important for me, for instance, to identify those good mentors in business and those good friends in life, that this person is toxic. That's not how I want to do business. I don't like the way that this person interacts as a friend into the world, what things are happening. Maybe I should not hang around that person anymore, because you're going to be a sum of all the people that you hang around with, right? The 5 people that you hang around with, they always say that you're the sum of all those different.
You are the sum of the 5 people that you spend time with.
Yeah, in every different way. So that's why we say get in crowds that are who you want to be in the future, not who you are, and definitely not from your past where things are dragging down, but just surround yourself with all those people. And so part of the journey is finding those people, exploring, going out into the world, learning yourself, learning what identifies with you and what things don't resonate with you. And then just start hanging around those people more, and then ask those people those types of things. Like if they're already having those emotions that you want to have, if that's all in alignment with you, then how did you get here? Don't just ask the internet how the heck to get somewhere. Man, you're going to get all the wrong answers for you.
Yeah. And one thing that I thought of when you were talking, and that Angel was saying is like getting comfortable being in the uncomfortable. And thank you, Danielle. Getting comfortable being in the uncomfortable, and for you, like trying new things. And it's just, if you're avoiding taking action
Mm.
because it's just uncomfortable and new, or you're avoiding taking action because it just really doesn't feel in alignment with you.
Mhm.
And so you know the difference. And if you're saying, I don't know the difference, then I will challenge you to ask yourself if you're just protecting yourself. Then I don't know the differences. Why do you think you don't know the difference? Because if you had to make a decision, you would realize that you're holding yourself back on your own accord because you don't want to get uncomfortable. Or is it because you actually know that you want that success and you feel like the only way you have to do it is through this step that you just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually cannot move yourself forward into? Those are two very different reasons as to why you wouldn't do something. And one of them is serving you. If it's not in alignment with you, don't do it. But if it is in alignment with your goals, if it is in alignment with who you are to be as a person and your highest expression of yourself. So if your highest expression of yourself is someone who is outgoing, is confident, is a people person, and you're avoiding cold calls, then I would ask yourself, okay, are you really like, is the cold calls out of alignment, or is it fear? And not saying like, I don't like cold calls. I've never cold called people or cold messaged people or anything like that. But some people do it and they're really successful. And that's why there's different avenues of success. There's just no one straight line to success. That's why we have so many different ideas of how to be successful, because something has worked for all these people. Something can work for you too, or a combination of things can work for you too. But if your highest expression of yourself is someone who's just peaceful, you're just kind of with yourself, maybe you're with some animals or a loved one, and you don't really care to have a huge social group, then yeah, that aligned action probably isn't reaching out to a bunch of strangers.
Mhm.
And so it's really understanding you first, and then taking that aligned action based off of who you are in your most authentic form, without the fears, without the worries, without the shame, the guilt, the anger, the frustration, the fear of rejection. Without any of that, who are you? And then from there, we take action. Remember, that's shifting that internal state to match that desire. From there, we take action. And then it's from that place of taking action that may feel uncomfortable. It may feel uncomfortable because the action doesn't always feel easy and like fairies and flowers and butterflies. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to do this. And yet once you take that action and you're on the other side of it, we've all done this where we were like really, really nervous to do something. But then when we got on the other side of it, we're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again. Because that's just moving into that discomfort, right? So we have to get radically honest with ourselves and understand, why am I not doing this? Am I not doing this because it just is out of alignment, or because it's uncomfortable and I'm holding myself back, or I just don't have the time, so I need to hire out? Okay, I assure you that finding people to support you in the ways that you need to be supported will streamline you to your success in whatever area you want. Doesn't matter if it's your body, relationships, finances, whatever.
Yeah, find someone that has that characteristic that you don't innately feel and work with them.
And do not take advice from people who don't.
Yeah.
Don't take advice from people who are struggling in the area that you want. Don't take advice from people who are giving you advice from their own limiting beliefs.
Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah.
Because they will see what's possible for them, what they've proven to be possible for them, and they will project that onto you. So we want to, and that's a part of staying in that higher vibrational state, is surrounding yourself with people who also believe in you, who also believe that what you want is possible, who have achieved that, right? And that's why we don't want to compare and judge. We want to stay open. And we can also stay open and decide, that person's kind of a jerk, I don't really want to learn from them. But there's all these other examples of successful people who are amazing people. And they're successful in the way that I want to be successful, with my body, with relationships, or with money. And they're doing it in a way that is an integrity, that is honest, and they are really good. I want to find examples of these people so that we can learn that this is the only way to be successful, from learning from the jerk. Because when we hear something, we're like, that guy's a jerk, I don't want to be like him. We repel what we want. So we want to find all the examples of amazing people who do have what we want. So we can calibrate to, oh, well, they're awesome and they had this. They had a similar past for me and they came from a similar past and they have this now. Because it is possible for you. Remember, if it's a desire in your heart, it's possible for you to have. But you have to become that person that has it.
Love it.
And then the next step is, while we're taking action, we want to hold the belief that it's possible for us, that we are someone that can have this, while diminishing self-doubt. So we want to hold the belief while we diminish self-doubt. So how do we do that? We stop comparing ourselves. We stop judging ourselves and others. We stop saying, I'm not far enough along. I'm not doing enough. We heal those emotional wounds that are telling us we're not far enough along, we're not enough, that we're a failure. We connect to the parts of ourselves that need love and understanding, so we can come into wholeness with ourselves, so that we can believe in ourselves more. And how do we create self-belief? We start making small commitments to ourselves and keeping them, so we know we can trust ourselves. We know we can rely on ourselves. We start doing things that we say we're going to do, so we believe that we are the type of person that's going to get things done. And we start small by putting ourselves in situations that are easy wins. And we're going to give you guys an exercise at the end of this call to help build your belief. So putting yourselves in situations that are easy wins, that might be placing yourself in a community of really supportive, like-minded people and sharing, hey, I have this question. Can anybody support me? And people are like, oh my gosh, I would love to support you, versus posting on like your Facebook feed. And people are like, what are you doing? You need to let that dream die. Right? So we want to place ourselves in environments that can help us win, that can help us feel better about ourselves.
I love that. No, that's one of the most important things, because you're going to go have your ups and downs throughout your life, your experiences, but being in a group of other like-minded people who either have gone through that before or are trying to achieve that, but make sure somebody has gone through it before with success. But having that type of group accountability and just that positive energy of the possibility, that will help buffer you in those down times. Yeah, you're going to be fine in the good times. You're excited. You're like, this is great. I'm so excited to get through this. And you're going to end up helping other people as well. When you're on that up, you're going to be helping other people. And that's important, because then you're part of that community. You feel that you're integrated within that. That's so key. And then when you are feeling down, just remember that you have that community. And so if it's a good one, then you should be able to share with them and say, this is what I'm going through today. And they'll be like, I felt that last week. Don't worry. It can come back around, just help push through that, and just having those techniques that we give you, but also have that community that helps buffer you during those down times, but then give back to that community is the point with that.
Yes.
And that'll feel so rewarding on the inside. And you're conditioning yourself for that success. Both when you're teaching other people to do that, you're conditioning yourself that it's entirely possible, because you're verbalizing it and you're helping people. And so that strengthens it, but then it'll come right back around you guys.
Yes. And one other thing would be the affirmations. That's where affirmations would apply here to build your self-belief. And it's so important to be in a community or in a group or working with someone who can support you, because you cannot support yourself in ways that you don't even know you need supported. And if you've never supported yourself in a certain way, how are you going to be able to do that on your journey? That's one thing that I learned really early on in my healing journey, was that I am so traumatized by my childhood and my early adolescent life that I don't even know the type of support I need to heal from this. And I don't even know how to support myself through this, because Zach even sees me be this way towards both of us sometimes, is my natural support is criticism. That's how I have learned to support myself, is to be critical of myself until I reach my goal, because that's how my parents supported me. That's how their parents supported them. I can't expect to live an abundant, happy, luxurious life if I'm just criticizing myself the entire journey there
Mhm.
because I'm going to wear myself down. And I know I'm speaking to a lot of you because I can feel a lot of us do this. And so when we are criticizing ourselves, if that's all the support that we've ever learned, that will be our go-to. That will be our default. And we rely on our default when we're having those low days. That's when we go to our default, when we're having the overstimulated days, when we're having the days where we're feeling really low, when we're having the days where we just need a break and we're feeling down and we just don't know what to do. Our default is what shows through. This is why healing work is so important, because if we don't learn how to support ourselves in the way that we need to be supported in order to achieve what it is that we want to achieve in this life, that we are capable of achieving, because if it's a desire on your heart, it's meant for you, then we will never know how to support ourselves and we'll never be able to get there because we're always going to find ourselves in a cycle. We're going to get ourselves in the loop of having that desire, working towards it, not being there as fast as we think we should be, or whatever other reason we tell ourselves, being critical on ourselves, beating ourselves down. The self-doubt is building, the self-belief is diminishing. We have to create a new desire. And we're either going to create new desires that are just less and less and less than what we actually want. So we settle and we're miserable. Or we're going to find ourselves in a space where we are just like so hard on ourselves that someone says something and it triggers us and we're just an emotional mess. I've done all of that. And so what we have to do is we have to find support, whether it be with a friend, whether it be with a coach, a mentor, a counselor, a healer, a group, whatever it is. You have to find support for yourself, not for where you're at now, but for where you want to go. Because where you want to go, you're going to have to talk to yourself differently. You're going to have to support yourself differently. You're going to have to show up differently because the version of you now has created the life that you have now. So if you want a different life, you have to create a different version of you to be able to have that life. Because the life that you want is not a vibrational match for the life that you currently have. Every past experience that you've had up until now has created this life. So if we want a different one, we have to create different experiences into our life. And if we don't know how to support ourselves, if we don't know how to take care of ourselves in those down default moments, we're in default mode 80% of the day, especially when we're just on when we're driving, or when we're in conversation with someone, or when we're just we have a lot of stuff going on with work. What are those thoughts that you just tend to go towards, that you just tend to err on the side of? If someone cuts you off in traffic, what's the first thought that comes up? If someone pulls out in front of you, what's the first thought that comes up? If someone sends you an email that says urgent, I need to speak with you, what's the first thought that comes up? Those are your defaults. So if we want an abundant, luxurious, happy, joyful life, we have to shift our defaults. Thus, we have to find out how to support ourselves in ways that support that life, that nourish that life, that build that self-belief before we can fully believe in ourselves.
I love that. I love that. Looking at some of these comments, my gosh, we're our own worst enemies. I almost say this all the time, and I say it to myself, Julie, you can't think of what you have to teach. My gosh, I can relate with that. I mean, you were just on the Jesse and Chris James show talking about lending, right? Private lending. You literally were teaching people that day, and you can't think of what to teach. And it's so easy to point things out in other people. It's so much more difficult to point things out for ourselves because we have that little demon in here that says, nope, I'm not good enough. I don't have anything to teach, right? Ask me how I know, right? I mean, I've had conversations with her. I've been doing this for over a decade, and literally people are asking me to teach them all the time, and I do wonderful things with them. But in some of my more down times, I'm like, oh man, but I don't know as much as this amazing, perfect person that's up here that knows everything that I'm learning from, right? But what I'm trying to aspire towards is something completely different than what someone else is trying to aspire towards. And so she's helped me understand that I can show up for people and they can relate with me where they might not even be able to relate with this other person that's up there at a completely other different level. being right here is where you need to be. And so you already have all those tools. You have exactly what you need. One of the things that I love, right? The thing we learned at the Summit of Greatness, that you are perfectly positioned to help the person you once were.
Yeah. So if you're
you have
stuck,
to help that person that you were. You've already gone through it. Who were you? Remember, we need a different energy to get to where we want to go. But so we can't have the same energy. But remember, we came from somewhere. You know, who's that person 6 months ago that you could help? 6 years ago that you could help.
And if you already had that solution, if you already knew the answer to that, how would that feel? So that's, again, we're shifting into the energy of the solution versus living in the energy of the problem.
Look at that. Look at that,
look at all
Julie,
these positive
right here.
responses.
She's already, look, Julie, Shane already helped you.
Sometimes
Got some help from there on there. I get it though.
Yeah,
Trust
it's
me.
difficult. We are our own worst enemies. We're our own worst critics. But again, is that voice even yours? Or is it something that you learned from the support that you received as a child throughout young adolescent life, throughout young adulthood, by someone that you cared about? So it's just about, if it's not supporting you, if it's not supporting your growth, not supporting your highest good, not supporting the path that you want to move into, then we know that it's not something that we need to take with us. So we have to learn to support ourselves differently. We have to learn to believe in ourselves, even if we're borrowing that belief from other people. Like Julie, borrow the belief from these comments before you fully believe in yourself. Borrow the belief from your friends, borrow the belief from clients, from previous people that have worked with you, borrow the belief from a stranger on the road who says, wow, you have such a nice smile. I hope that a lot of people get to see that today. Like, borrow that belief before you believe in yourself, if that's what you need to do.
But it helps along the journey too, because again, we're going to have ups and downs. So maybe even print some of those things out, whatever helps you, keep them right around.
Have your affirmations. And Shane, your question, when we're doing affirmations, we want to speak in present tense. We want to speak in present tense for things that we want. So for an example, I am in a loving relationship. If I feel like I don't believe that, or I am someone that is capable of being in a loving relationship. So if I don't believe the full I am statement, then I add bridge words like I am capable of, I am open to, it is safe for me. So that's in the affirmations video, which is on my YouTube. So you can go to my YouTube and just search affirmations or energetic alignment and mindset. We'll put it in the link in the email. So yes, we want to speak in the future. We want to speak to what we want in the future, but speak it as present tense. But if we do not believe that that is true, then we just put in those bridge words until we build that self-belief. Right.
So what about this example? I wonder if he's also asking something that he is versus something that he wants to be.
Something that, like, yes, I want this in the future. I want to be this in the future. So I'm not saying like right now, I wouldn't say like I am like if I want a specific financial goal, I wouldn't say like I am bringing in like $2,000 a month of extra income. I would say I am bringing in $20,000 a month of extra income. I am bringing in $100,000 a month, or it is safe for me to bring in that. I'm capable of bringing in that. So that's what I would say. I would speak to the future me as if it was the now me.
So what about, I'm a runner now, but 10 years ago, I wasn't a runner and I thought it was crazy to run. Yet now I don't know how many years ago it was, but it wasn't too many years ago that I actually embodied the fact that I am a runner. So I put that on my affirmations that I'm an amazing runner, right? That I'm an amazing runner, even though that's something that I am. I guess I'm always like, I'm looking at people that are better runners. So I put it that I'm an amazing runner. And so I met this guy at this conference real recently, quick story, but like he's saying something, talking to someone else saying that he was an endurance athlete. And because I had always heard it in my head, the first thing that came out was, oh yeah, I'm an amazing runner too. And I just said, I'm an amazing runner to this guy that I don't really know. It kind of maybe came across a little pompous from his reaction. I think it was like that, but it was so funny because it worked. Like I was so programmed that it just came off my tongue. I am this thing. And so, I mean, that will help you. The more that you end up doing that, you more you embody these things, it just, you won't be able to help yourself. That's the cool thing about it. So I guess, even things that you are good at, just stretching them to be a little bit more for that future sense of you, because we're always trying to get better, right? I imagine all of us were here because we're trying to get better.
Yeah. And Shane, if you want, I would love to hear what that is. If you want to type it in the comment box, or we can come up because we're almost done with this. So you can just talk to us in a minute if you don't want to type it in the comment box. So we can, because I would like to hear that. So one thing that I want to talk about is, so when we build that self-belief and we're diminishing that self-doubt, then this manifestation is a cyclical process of repeating, deciding that you want something, shifting to be a vibrational match for it, taking the aligned action, and holding the belief. Okay. So then it's just repeat as necessary. And then the final step is your reality mirrors that desire. It finally mirrors, like, I am a wealthy person. It finally mirrors, like, I decide that I want love, I want wealth, I want health, I want ease and flow in my life, I want to live at the beach, whatever it is. Your reality finally mirrors that. So the timeline of this happening is dependent on three things: how strong the desire is, plus your level of self-belief, minus your level of self-doubt. So if you have a strong desire, but you have a lot of self-doubt, it's like you're pushing the gas and pushing the brake at the same time. If you have a mediocre desire with no doubt, you are flooring the gas. And this is an example that I think we can all relate to. Maybe we've all said something like, or maybe we've listened to something and heard something like a podcast talking about bluebirds, and we didn't think anything of it. We're like, oh, bluebirds. We say bluebirds, and we're like in a good mood. We're looking outside, and then we stop at a stop sign and we see like 3 bluebirds right there. Or maybe we say something like, I need some more money. So we walk out into the grocery store and we see a quarter and a nickel on the ground. That's more money. So it's just a matter of, there are things that we can have very little attachment to. Thus, we're not doubting ourselves that it's capable for it to come into our life. Thus, it comes into our life a lot easier, versus things that we have more of an attachment to, like a specific income goal or a specific partner or a specific house or a location that we want to live, or a specific health goal. And if we put so much weight into that desire, but we still on some level believe that we're not capable of having that desire, then we are going to burn out the manifestation process on that desire. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, just means it might take a while for it to unfold in physical reality, because you're pushing the gas and pushing the brake at the same time. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. So again, this process is already happening, whether you believe that in manifestation or not, or whether you act intentionally or you don't, right? So it's already happening. You are already receiving your reality as either an intentional byproduct or an unintentional byproduct of your thoughts, your emotions, and your level of belief of if you can have it or not. So we can either believe that we are in co-creation with this divine energy that created everything, or we can believe that life is just happening to us. Regardless, life will still happen. It's just a matter of you want to play an intentional role in that or not. Okay. So for this week, I would love for you guys to play with this. And we're going to talk more about this next week, but this exercise is just really good for building that believability in yourself. So just think of something really easy and fun that you would just really have fun experiencing in your life, but something so simple that it's just like, well, duh, I could have that. So for me, at one point in time, it was like, I want to find like a quarter. Like, I'll just find a quarter on the ground. It would be fun if I found a quarter, because then I know that my intention led me to a quarter. So that could be something that you start small with. Or I would really love for a free cup of coffee this
Yep.
week.
I like a coffee. For a guy to get a free drink at a bar, it's not as common, you know?
If you don't go to bars.
Well,
does
yeah,
that make
right.
sense?
Right. But I'm just saying, any type of different drink, but either of those, yeah, a coffee, a drink at a bar, that's always so nice. Something like that.
Yes. And so play with this, play with something very small, something small. It almost seems insignificant, but remember, there's no such thing as insignificance to the universe. So something small, just so when it happens, you're just like, oh my gosh, so much fun. It can be seeing a certain animal. It can be finding $1. It can be whatever you want, getting a phone call from somebody. Just set the intention that this is what I want. So again, step 1, have the desire, decide what I want. Okay. Step 2, shift the internal state to match it. So if you found the quarter, you'd be like, oh, cool, right? No big deal. Found it. So cool, fun. Step 3, allow yourself to take that aligned action. So maybe you want to park in a certain parking spot when you go to the store. You're really drawn to this parking spot. And that's like, you open your car door and you see a bunch of change right there. Again, using the quarter example. Or maybe you have this urge to do laundry. And you go to do laundry and you realize that you left $5 in there. You're like, oh, fun. I found it. Right. So just take that aligned action when you're in that higher elevated state, and then continue to hold the belief while diminishing self-doubt. So we want to play with something that we really have no doubt that we could find, something so simple, so easy that we're just like, duh. Okay. Build believability. And then repeat that as necessary. Those are the steps. And then let your reality mirror that desire.
Love it. Yeah. So that was something, Erica, you're talking about a check in the mail. I love that. So I used to have this fear that every time I would go to the mailbox, there would be some bill from something else, some expense that I would have to pay, an unexpected thing like that. So I would really start to fear going and checking the mail. And it was this negative energy that's around that. And so she helped me introduce that concept of, what would it feel like if that wasn't the case, or if there was money that comes to you unexpected. I was like, well, that does happen sometimes. She's like, well, there you go. Right. And so now I have that mindset of, all right, I'm excited. I'm going to go and check the mail. And sure enough, I end up with that reticular activation, right? I tend to notice the times that I'm getting the money in the mail, and I'm really excited about that. And the times that there's some bills or whatever that has to be paid, it's like, oh, whatever, whatever. That's not what I'm aligning with. So it almost doesn't even count. But guess what happened? My day ends up happier because of that. And so what other things end up happier? And just from having that mood, that shift, right? That energy shift that we're talking about, to have those different emotions right now, it just makes life all the better. And so it keeps you in that elevated state of being able to manifest everything that is consistent with how you want to be in the future. It's easier, and you'll be joyous through the whole time.
And like with that example, if you are someone that struggles with like checking the mail or checking your bank statements or checking your email, play some fun music. Get into a different mood when you do it. There are simple shifts that we can make energetically that will compound over time to create some type of change in our desired outcome. I remember when I started doing all of this, I was in some 21-day money manifestation challenge. And I set a small goal of like $1,000. This was like 5 years ago when I started doing this. And 5 years ago, I was like 27. I graduated college when I was 21. I received a check from my college, from when I did I was a student worker in the gym, and I worked like 2 or 3 days a week, my junior and senior year of college in the gym. And I received a check for like $120, 6 years after I graduated college. Like, random things can happen. The how is not your concern. We're going to talk about releasing the how in a later date and the power of detachment and the importance of that. But today was just a brief overview of manifestation. If you really like this, we're really just getting started, because wait until we dive into the fun stuff. But so build that believability, practice with that fun stuff. Know that just random things can happen and you don't have to know how. And that's the beauty of it. That's how you know the divine is like winking at you. Like, yeah, I heard you. I got you. And and it's fun because it happens in the most random ways and we can't possibly predict it, because if we could, then we would already be living it. So if something that we want happens very spontaneously, or because we were just pulled or we had an impulse to do something and then we did it, we're like, oh my gosh, that's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to find. That's what I wanted to experience. Then that's like the divine showing you this state that you're in. Good job. Like, keep this up. And again, we can use our affirmations to help align with that by reminding ourselves, I am a wealthy person. I am a vibrational match for that thing that I want. I am the type of person that experiences this. It is safe for me to heal. It is safe for me to believe in myself. Because our subconscious mind does not know the past or the future. It knows right now. That's why we want to speak in present tense. But for the pulling the future into the present, we want to speak in present tense because the subconscious mind does not know the difference. And the reticular activating system is part of the subconscious mind for all my sciencey people. So energetically, just go with your impulse and see what happens this week. I'd be really excited to see and hear about anything that happens for you guys. If you do decide to play with this, keep it fun. Keep it fun. Just start with something small. If it happens, awesome. If it's like something happens, you can message us, or we'll talk about it next week when we go deeper.
Type it in next week. That's wonderful. But you know, the important thing is noticing it and then enjoying it and remembering it. A lot of times we'll forget those things that are good in our life because they're not so traumatic, right? The trauma is what makes those really deep scars in our brains. So, but try and retrain yourself to focus on those good things too.
Mm-hmm.
Make those scars beautiful at the end of the day.
Yep.
That's really fun. And then, you know, you'll just have all those around you. So that's why I've got my achievement journal. I'm writing things down in that. It's just more happiness that you can put into your life. It'll just permeate your soul.
Yeah. So I think with that, we will close for today. I know we ran over a few minutes, so we thank you guys for hanging out with us. Does anybody have any questions, comments, anything like that before we hop off? Boop, 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 boop.
Mm-hmm.
Or want clarity around the Jim Rohn affirmations thing. We go down to see what that message is.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful week. Good today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, the Jim Rohn thing. Yeah. Shane, do you want to share that? If you want to, you can unmute yourself.
We can unmute you and we can turn on your camera to look into your house.
Turn on his camera.
I don't think we can.
Oh,
do
he's
that,
at work
can
right
we?
now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. All right, then whatever. We can just talk about it next week. But yeah. All right. So yeah, thank you guys. Then we will just close this out and figured that you can't. And we will see you all next week. Have a wonderful week.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Get some good wins, manifest some fun stuff.
Build believability.
Woo.